Hello, and it's time for my fall 2024 anime first impressions. Overall, it is a very slow season, but not necessarily a bad one, especially if you've watched like half the things that came out earlier this year, because a lot of things got second seasons. So I'm doing just fine, even if there aren't a ton of new things for me to check out that I haven't already read or have like a vague understanding of. But to get the stuff out of the way that I've already read, I'm gonna begin with Dandadan. I'm so excited. I love the series so much. It's such a great series to balance every genre possible, every little quirky anime thing. You've got magical girls, you've got kaiju, you've got spirits, you've got ghosts, you've got aliens, you've got everything you can ask for and more. And it is so much fun, and I'm so excited for this adaptation. And based purely on the first episode, we are in for a treat. They're going hard in the paint, popping off, and I could not be happier to see the adaptation getting the love it deserves. I never really had any concerns about Science Saru being the ones to adapt it, but based on that episode alone, they knocked it out of the park and then some. We are in great hands and are in for an all-timer this season. Next up is Magi Lumiere, which I haven't read as much of. I'm current on Dandadan. I've read like 10 or so chapters of Magi Lumiere, so I won't know the whole season, presumably. I'll know like a good bit of it, but I enjoyed it. I just kind of fell off because I read like 60 manga currently at the time, and I'm like, yeah, I'm okay holding off for a little bit. But I love the premise to like corporate magical girls is such a fun idea with a lead that's very relatable in this current day and age. I would gladly take the job of an analyst for that situation. No hesitation. That'd be sick. I'm glad the series hasn't lost that like magical girl whimsy, even if it is like corpo magical girls. Like it still very much loves the whole transformation sequence and the appeal of magical girls as like an entity. And that makes it a fun watch, if nothing else. But it was pretty good from what I read, so I'm definitely gonna stick around with it. Next off is a quick one because I haven't actually watched it yet, but I've read all of it. I watched the OP, which is her blue box. Netflix is expensive, so I'm waiting until Arcane Season 2 comes out to actually watch the like 40 different anime that have come out this year on it. But if the OP is anything to go off of, we're in for a treat. But as I said, Arcane Season 2 is coming out, and once that comes out, I'm going to get everything out of the way. But until then, Blue Box is good. Go watch it. And lastly, for the things that I've read but are new, we have Uzumaki, which I read very recently, and I really like. I think it's Junji Ito's best series in general. But the art style just did nothing for me. Every 30 seconds, I'm asking myself, like, why is this an anime when it just looks so clearly like it wants to be the manga? And I think at least the first episode was very, like, okay, you can make the argument. But I have watched episode 2, and good God, it fell apart. It's in damage control to the point where they're like, we're bringing the original director back for the final episode. It will probably still look terrible, but at least we got the guy back. And honestly, I'm glad an anime could be made for Uzumaki. I wish it had been made under better circumstances with a production that wasn't just ruined. But I also feel like Junji Ito is one of those with like Miura where it's like, you just can't adapt this into anime. Please stop trying. Because it just feels like they were like, well, how do we make this into an anime? And then they just went, well, what if we made the manga into the anime? And it's like, sure, I guess. You just do black and white, like fancy edits, and it's all like CG drawn over, I think is what it was. And it's like, cool, I appreciate your attempt, but it just pales in comparison to the manga and every facet of it. And I'm just like, stop. We don't need an anime for everything. And now that the adaptation is just ruined, he's 0 for 2 on his manga getting adapted into anime, which sucks. I feel like if you're Junji Ito, you are out. You're like, I'm good. You ruined 2 of them, we're good. Now the second segment of all these seasonals is the things that I haven't read, but I watched the prior seasons and I'm back for them, which is ReZero Season 3, which initially that like hour and a half runtime was like, whoa there, cowboy, calm down. I don't got that in me right now. Because I didn't know it was an hour and a half. I was like, oh, I'll just watch for 20 minutes and it'll be great. And then I was like, oh, I'm 20 minutes in and I still have over an hour left. What the heck? But then I sat down and finished it and I was so back. We were so back. Everything was so back. I was like, yeah, ReZero is good. I'm glad I stuck around with this. I enjoyed it so much. The last like 10 minutes were awesome and arguably a bit more unsettling than the Uzumaki anime. but that was also just the art style was kind of hampering my scare factor, and also I've read Uzumaki, so I know the twists and stuff better than I do with ReZero. But after episode 2, I don't think there's really a competition there. But I do love ReZero. It's probably one of my favorite isekais that, despite having so many years between seasons, immediately got me back in, and I was like, yeah, I'm ready for more suffering. The other one was Sword Art Online Gun Gale Online Alternative Season 2, which I'm very glad wasted 0 time getting back into a squad jam, because I like a Gun Gale Online Alternative for the action. I like that these are video games, and it's being played as a video game. The biggest flaw of SAO to me is that it never tries to play these video games as video games. I just want to see the guys hanging out, doing cool side quests. Like, the closer we get in the actual series is Excalibur, and even then it's like, there you go. There's some big plot here. He gets the OP sword, but it's fun because it's just a video game. It doesn't feel like there are life or death stakes. It's just like the gang's going on a raid. And Gun Gale Online Alternative is just that. They're just the gang hanging out, playing video games. No one's gonna die. There's nothing really grandiose. It's just some gamers gaming. And that's all I really need to be back to watch it for another season. And lastly, we have the one series I tried on a whim, which was Mecha UD, because it looked interesting and it seemed like there were generally good opinions on it online. And I liked it. I was surprised at how much I liked it. It definitely showed its trigger influence, but that's not really a bad thing. That's, if anything, a pretty good one. The Mecha UD concept was kind of neat with the like robot arms and limbs and stuff like that. I'm curious how it'll play out. But really, it was just Tomokazu Sugita being the like main guy's Mecha UD, and he, as usual, crushing it with the VA, and was honestly probably a big part of keeping me engaged and actually watching it. It's hard to say if it'll stick the landing overall, but it's also an original anime, so I'll give it a fair shake before I'm gonna write it off for the rest of time. There are still a couple other things that have yet to air, like Shangri-La Frontier. I'm also watching Tower of God Season 2, but I'm not really like, I have no strong opinions on it. I just watch it week to week because it's fine. Like, the animation isn't crazy. I'm just like, the story is interesting enough, and it's 20 minutes passing by that I'm not actively regretting. I am vaguely excited for the workshop battle. I don't know if excited is the right word. I'd say I'm curious, because the new main cast kind of group, I don't see how they're pulling that off. Everything is like, these guys are just kind of weak. But somehow they're going to do it because I got to get their boy back. And I'll check in to watch it. I'll clock in at the Tower of God shop, even if the adaptation is not very good at all. But that's everything I'm watching. It's not a lot. Next season, I don't think is much better, but honestly, a lot of that stuff still has not been announced. Honestly, I think it's just Honey Lemon Soda. It's going to be peak. I love it. I don't think I'm current on it, but I've read like 70 chapters of it, and I love it a lot. It's awesome. So fluffy, so fun, so good. Undergirlfriend Season 2 will be there, even if I think the manga got kind of stale for me. Sakamoto Days will be there. Solo Leveling Season 2 will be there. It's actually just like all Season 2s of things that I'm like, yeah, obviously I'm going to come back to this. Beyond that, there isn't a whole lot, but we'll bring out fall 2024 with a good time, hopefully. Seems like we got plenty of good sequels that should continue to deliver on the goodness. And if not, oh well, life goes on.